Welcome to another NXT and We interview. Guys, I am so excited for this one. I've been raving about him. I've been talking about him with Brett, and now we're joined by unfortunately Brett couldn't be here with us today, and we're joined by everybody's favorite Takeover Tom. But welcome to this NXT and We interview series. Tom, would you like to introduce this guest that I am so excited to have here?
All right, I'll see if we can do it, Tom.
So happy
to.
Get
the whole mantra down. You get it down? Do you know it?
Let's do it.
We have this evening the earthquaking, pillar-shaking leader of the Meat Pop Express, the man who stands at 6'12" and weighs in at 15% of a metric ton, a guy who ain't corporate but is always about the business. We have Big Trouble, Ben Bishop.
Wow, you are the very first podcast to get it right all the way through. You said everything. You hit the nail on the head. And that's why they call you Takeover Tom.
Thank you, sir.
Just so you know, the very first person to ever get the whole thing right. Congratulations.
Tom, bravo.
We're off to a great start.
I'll put in thunderous applause there. That was amazing. I was about to do that, and I deferred to Tom because his voice is just so.
He was put on the spot. He did great.
He commanded it. I knew he could.
He did.
That voice just. That's gonna clip forever. But yes, we are joined by Big Trouble Ben Bishop, all 6'12" of them. Ben, I mean, can I call you Ben?
You can call whatever you want. Sure, Ben works. That is my name.
I won't call you late for dinner, but we will. Usually when we do these, we like to start right from the top and just see how it goes. I mean, you're 6'12" and you played college basketball. You played other sports. How did you get into wrestling? We can talk about all that another time. But how did you get into wrestling?
So I mean, since I was growing up, so I started watching wrestling probably when I was, I think 8 years old. I really got into it. I was just flipping channels, and all of a sudden, first thing I ever watched was WCW. So I was a big WCW mark. Obviously, I knew WWF at the time existed, but I was more WCW. I gravitated towards obviously the bigger guys, the larger than life guys, literally, figuratively. The Kevin Nash was my favorite of all time. Guys like him, guys like Sid Vicious, the NWO, just how cool they were. I really, I loved watching that back in 1998 is really what I started watching. And throughout the years, I was that kid. You had a trampoline, go out and practice the moves. I had all the video games, and I loved it. I loved everything about it. I always wanted to be a wrestler, and I always said to myself, I'm going to do this one day. I'm going to do this one day. And then life happens, right? Wrestling it's not the easiest thing to get into, especially back in like the 90s, early 2000s. It was almost like it was kind of gate kept almost to an extent.
Oh yeah.
So you didn't really know how to do it. So obviously me being tall, and I got into basketball. My dad was like, yeah, we don't want you to really, I'd rather have you do this than try wrestling. You're 11 years old and not going to wrestle. So
how tall were you when, I'm sorry to interrupt, how tall were you when you were 10, 11?
Sixth grade, 10, that's sixth grade. So let's say, I know sixth grade, I was 6 foot. So I was 6 foot and 6. Yeah.
Took me a couple more years to get there.
So yeah, 6 foot in sixth grade. That's when I started playing basketball around then. And obviously, I took to basketball pretty quick. I was naturally pretty good at it, but obviously always in the back of my head, I played basketball because I was tall. So let's just say that I was tall. Wow. And I was for it, and I enjoyed it. I really did. And I won't give up any of my basketball career, all the years playing AAU, high school, prep school to college. It was amazing. I have lasting relationships, and I love everybody I've ever played with. I shouldn't say that. Probably 99% of the people I've ever played with. If you're the 1% and you're listening, sorry.
Which they probably are. So make sure you say sorry. Yeah.
So really, it was fun. It was great. Played at University of Vermont, got a scholarship, did all that good stuff.
Catamounts, correct?
But the Catamounts, yeah, you got that right. Yep.
Jake Marsh.
Jake Marsh, exactly.
Yeah, there you go.
So
We'll get to that.
So I was just always kind of telling myself, I'm doing this for the scholarship, It's great. I had a lot of injuries playing basketball. It kind of took me out of it a little bit mentally, as well, obviously, as physically. But it was like I said, amazing experience. Transitioned a few years, finished, got my degree.
Congratulations. Hell yeah.
Thank you. Moved down to Baltimore, went to graduate school down here. And I was thinking about the wrestling thing again, because I went to a few shows. I actually went to this show in Rhode Island right before I moved to Baltimore. And it was an XWA show. And this show was stacked. Now looking back on it, the show was stacked. It was called the West Warwick Civic Center in Rhode Island.
Okay.
And this place is really just like it's called the Civic Center, but it's got like bleachers. It's got 3 basketball courts in it. But they had a show there. So this show had, now that if I can remember correctly, it had Tommaso Ciampa.
Was AJ there?
Wow.
AJ Styles?
Yeah.
No, he wasn't
Okay.
there.
Because Ciampa was like the champ. Ciampa was like the champion, I think, around there.
I think he was one of their top guys. So
Yeah.
Ciampa, it was Red Dragon, which is Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly.
Jeez. Nice.
Colt Cabana, Chris Hero, Matt Taven, Eddie Edwards.
Matt Taven, the local Northeast guy. Yeah.
Matt Taven's a great guy.
Yeah.
Chris Hero, another really good. So I actually, the whole time, Chris Hero was actually marking out, talking to me because he's a huge Duke fan, and he was actually at the UVM Duke game that happened the year before.
Yeah.
I already graduated. I wasn't there at the time, but
like, what a world.
I know, it was pretty cool. He showed me a picture. He's sitting right behind the bench. So that was awesome talking to him. I talked to Colt Cabana a bunch, and I just kind of was like, started thinking more about it. I kind of want to do this. I went home, I talked to my dad about it, and he's like, no, you're going to grad school. What do you like? No, like, just focus on that. So I'm like, all right, you know what, whatever. So I just, went to grad school and down here in Baltimore. And
what'd you study?
I studied industrial organizational psychology.
Wow.
Oh,
yeah,
great.
It's a mouthful. It's fancy. It's fancy human resources.
Okay.
Basically.
I'm less fancy human resources, so that's cool.
There you go.
So yeah, got my degree, and I actually, I had that itch to compete again. So I actually started playing Australian football. Did that for 3 years. Here in Baltimore for a league. It was a glorified men's league, the USAFL.
Is it like 7-on-7 or something? What is it?
It's actually Australian rules, if I remember now. I think it's.
Jeez.
How many freaking players are on the field? Wow, I haven't played in a few years.
No, you're good. You're good, man.
It's about, I think it's 12 on. I think it's 12 on 12.
Oh, geez.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's 12 on 12 in a 150-yard field. So it's a pretty big field. Yeah.
Cardio.
Like rugby, it's a little different. Yeah, right. A lot of it. A lot of running, which I did not love. So, but I had a bunch of good friends, a bunch of good drinking buddies. So I was like, you know what, this is cool. Competing, having fun. It's not too serious, but serious enough. But then I was like, I'm only doing this to have a couple friends. I already made the friends. I don't need to keep playing this. I can hang out with them when I want. So I stopped. And really what ended up happening, I'm like, I just have work now. And this is when I was kind of like, what else do I have going on? And I was trying to think of different things I wanted to do. And because I think everybody, no matter who you are, and this is great that you guys do this podcast, I think everybody should almost have that creative part of them like that. You gotta scratch that creative itch, no matter who you are. You got to do something different. Work's great. You got to make your money, you got to pay your bills, but you got to do something creative. You got to do something that is just different, a hobby. Yeah. So I was sitting at home one day. I was listening to Busted Open Radio, actually. Pretty interesting
shout
story.
out David LaGreca, right?
Yes, shout out David LaGreca.
And
was listening to them.
Izzy.
Enzo. Yep.
Sorry.
Enzo was on. So Enzo was just talking about what he was doing. This was 2019, September 2019.
Okay.
So Enzo's talking about Big Cass, and I always really liked Big Cass. Big Cass, was going through a lot of stuff at the time. He's hopefully doing better. I'm not really sure, but thoughts go out to him. Hopefully everything's going well. He was talking about him, and he said, I'm going to be in Baltimore tonight at a show. So I was like, all right, I'm not doing anything. I was planning on playing like year 3 of my franchise in Madden that night. That's all I had to do. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to go. I haven't been to a wrestling show in a while. I've been to an indie show since that XWA show, actually.
Oh, wow.
So so it was 5 years. So I was like,
Jeez.
I'll go. So I go, I show up, I just sit in the back. And a lot of times whenever I go to a wrestling show, whether it be WWE, whether it be indie, whatever, people just kind of look at me and they kind of like, are you somebody? Are you? And since Enzo was there, people kind of were double taking, looking at me.
Oh yeah.
Oh, fair.
Yeah.
They were looking at you.
Yeah. So long story short, I was sitting there and at intermission, I kind of stood up and I just stood in the back trying to make sure I didn't want to cause too much, interruption with anybody. But people kept coming up to me and like, oh, you a wrestler? No, you a wrestler. Finally, this guy, Magic Mike, he comes up to me. He's got a magician gimmick. It's great. So he comes up to me and he's like, oh, are you a worker? I'm like, I don't even know what that meant. So I was like, I have a job. I don't know. He's like, no. Are you a wrestler? And I was like, no. He's like, hold on, let me go get. So he goes and gets Gilbert. Gilbert comes over.
Okay, I was gonna ask you about this.
Yeah. So he starts talking to me and he's like, oh man, you gotta work. You gotta be a wrestler. You gotta try this. So, how old are you? I'm 29. I was 29 at the time. I was like, oh man, you gotta try. He's like, hold on, let me introduce you to James. And I was like, okay. So I'm like, I don't know who James was. And he brings me over and it's James Ellsworth. So, and James all of a sudden is like, holy shit, who the hell is this? and he's like, you want to do this? I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, let me get your number. So he gets my number and I'm just kind of like, what the hell is going on right now? Like, it's just happening very fast. So, I talked to him about it. Next day, I'm literally training the next day. I come the next show. Wow. I'm helping set up the ring. I train in the ring before the show, take my first few bumps. My God, when you take bumps, and we'll get to this when we talk about the people that don't really think wrestlers are athletes.
Oh, it sucks.
It
sucks.
Taking bumps and learning to take bumps. I took about 40 that day. Just
running the rope sucks.
Running the rope sucks. Yeah,
that hurts.
That probably hurts when you don't. That hurts the most until you get used to it. Once you're used to it,
it cows back.
It's like nothing. Exactly. So,
people don't know, man.
Hitting the ropes.
People have no clue.
They sure don't.
The cardio. We'll get into that later. I'm sorry. We can.
No, it's totally fine. So that's kind of. I'm really wrapping it up here. Long-winded story of my.
No, that was awesome.
Career. So now since then, I've been traveling with Ellsworth a lot. He's been helping me out a lot and getting a lot. Because what people don't know is that a lot of wrestling isn't just how physically gifted you are in the ring. I mean, it means a lot. It's also mental too. So riding around with Ellsworth, he's so knowledgeable, because you got to think of a guy like James Ellsworth who didn't have a look, didn't have a body, he didn't have a size, but he got over so well with the crowd because of his little things and the mannerisms and the facials and how to work a match and how to get people to invest in him or hate him at the same time. I've never seen somebody be able to just turn a crowd. I've seen him at indie shows turn a crowd back and forth between liking him and hating him. And sometimes it's a game. He does. He just does it as a game. They're in the palm of his hand. They really are. He does an unbelievable job, and it's been great learning from him over the past year and a half. So because a lot of guys, guys go to these wrestling schools and they pay a lot of money, and it's great. Some of them are amazing. There's some good ones out there. Jacobs Pritchard's, Nightmare Factory, Team 3D, Reality of Wrestling, Booker T School. There's a lot of great wrestling schools, but what I get, a little extra, is that I get to ride around with Ellsworth a lot. So a lot of guys, they don't get the opportunity to ride around with a veteran, with a guy who's been there in WWE and learn from them. They run the school, but they're not riding with these guys or, talking to them as much about it. I luckily get that. So I get to learn a lot, and he helps me put together the matches and what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, and all this type of stuff. So very valuable year and a half. And that's why I believe I've been able to kind of move a little bit faster than normal people getting into wrestling, because I've had that luxury of being around a lot of good veteran guys who have been able to help me work like a big man really should work. So that's kind of like I said, the long-winded background of how I got started.
That is cool. I was actually going to ask if you had any prior sort of entertainment experience, because you do definitely have the ability to work a crowd.
Yeah. So, thank you. I appreciate that. I've never had any official entertainment experience, but since I was a kid, I've always been comfortable talking in front of people and being kind of that entertainer. And even a lot of my friends will always say, I'm kind of always like, I'm very open. Whenever they're always say, yeah, I'm so comfortable bringing you around new people because you can spark up a conversation and you're always entertaining and you're always, you're always somebody that's very extroverted around new people. And when I was in college, I actually hosted a few like talent shows or like our version of Midnight Madness. I was on the mic and all that type of stuff. So they've always kind of picked me to do these type of things. And just always come very natural to me, cutting promos and doing all that type of stuff. I try to do that. So if you look at like my Instagram or my Twitter, I'm always putting up like the Bishop's Log type thing. And that's almost me practicing doing promos. Yeah. Right. And that's what Enzo actually told me, when I spoke with Enzo and he was just like, listen, if I can give you any advice, just either write stuff down. Like whenever stuff comes into your head, he'd always do that. He'd just have a notebook, writing down promos all the time. And that's what I started doing. I would just be sitting and I'd be thinking, I'd be like, all right, what do I want to do today? I haven't done one in a week. Something pops into my head. Okay, boom. I'll just turn it on and do that. And then maybe, it might take 2, 3, 4, 5 takes, but it's going to get it right. And just to put something out there and just keep doing stuff. And especially in this pandemic when shows been shut down, so it's like, you got to figure out some way to get yourself over. And I've been just trying to do everything I can to do that without being able to work a full schedule like indie guys have been working the past 5 years. It really is a shame. And we don't have to harp too much on it. We all know what happened. I mean, it sucks. And we're all in the same boat there with everybody, wrestlers, not even just wrestlers, everybody. So I'm not, it is what it is. I'm not going to even think about when this is going to be over because I don't even want to think about it because I'm going to set myself up for probably, being upset. So I believe that, especially in American wrestling, which, I'm doing, I'm not in Japan, I'm not in Mexico, and their styles are amazing and they can do amazing things and that's awesome. But in American wrestling, you got to get over by talking. You got to get your character over. You got to portray to the audience
100%.
A larger than life person. So that's why I believe that's so important. And I think that's one thing on the indie circuit, not everybody, but I think that's one thing that's lacking from a lot of people currently is that natural charisma, is being able to get over to the crowd without just your wrestling ability. You got to be able to talk. You got to be a character.
Yeah, hell yeah, man.
Absolutely.
I mean, geez, at this point, I want you to be a recurring guest, literally every week.
I would love to, and that's something I'll say right now. I love talking wrestling.
Yeah.
I love whatever you have any questions regarding wrestling, I'm always there to answer. I love it. My whole life, it's wrestling still is kind of niche, right? It's not mainstream really. And not a lot of my friends watched it. I had a few friends. So growing up, I never had really an outlet to ever talk about it. So I'm glad there's Twitter now. I'm glad there's a bunch of things I can do. There's people out there that, make podcasts and do this type of stuff. And I love that because I do love talking about wrestling. Yeah. And so with that said, if I'm available anytime, I would.
Oh, geez, man. Well, awesome. Oh my gosh. Well, so we still a little bit to get to. Tom, did you want to get to some more of your wrestling questions before we kind of move towards some other?
There was one in particular that I was thinking of a lot while you were talking about the character work. And so I feel like your personality in the ring so far is one of those things where it's your regular personality, but dialed up to 11.
You got it right. Yeah.
Very, very common among wrestlers. And I just wonder, how would you feel in a situation where you get a gig with a big promotion and they see you and they're like, man, we got to put a mask on this guy or put him in face paint or something.
You're going to put a mask on
a dark character. No, I mean, more like a dark character based on the size. Would you feel... Do you feel like you'd want to go with that route, or do you...
how much money are we getting paid, Tom? That's who's signing the checks? Because I'll go out. If it's enough money, I'll go out there in a tutu if I need to.
There you go.
Shame. No shame.
That's
right?
the correct over in a tutu.
You would.
I'm passionate. I'm passionate about wrestling. I love professional wrestling. But at the same time, if anybody ever tells you it's not about the money, they're fucking lying.
But the passion is super important, though,
it
too.
Is.
Because
no,
one thing I can tell while watching your matches is that you're having fun out there.
Yeah, to do this stuff, you need passion. You got to want it. You gotta want it.
If you're not having fun out there, then the audience isn't having fun. That was
Believe me,
a lot of the television wrestling that we've had over the years. That was the problem. It's like the guys in there are not passionate, so how are we supposed to be?
Exactly.
So that's something that really bleeds through when you got somebody who's loving what they're doing. They're having fun. You automatically have fun.
You got it. To answer your question about the mask thing. So basically, yeah, we know we're joking about the money thing, but
I mean,
I've always we're never joking about the money thing. So my one thing I did say when I was trying to figure out the character and people were trying to give me characters like, oh, you should be this Tarzan type character, or you should be this big Viking type character, and I'm like, I get it, I see where it's coming from, but like it's been done. Like I don't want to be this big, like immobile, like can't talk,
Yeti,
Yeti look, yeah, I mean, people do that because they can't talk and they don't have a personality, and that's fine. We need characters like that. But I didn't want to be like just a Kane or an Undertaker. I mean, I'd gladly love to be where they're at, and they're amazing, and I watch them all the time for their in-ring ability. But I didn't want to be that type of character. I didn't want to be the dark, brooding character. I wanted to be able to showcase, personality. That's why I love guys like Kevin Nash. When he got into WCW, when he was able to showcase his personality a little bit more. Watching guys like him and how he does his promos and all that, and I that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be kind of almost like the cool guy.
Big Daddy Cool.
Well, I can tell you're pulling it off with those old '90s cup pants that you were wearing in the ring.
Oh yeah.
Those are awesome.
Now I got the official gear. I know, and I have these too. So I'd wear these. I try not to wear them inside. I know people don't. Some wrestling personalities and some people high up think when you wear sunglasses inside, you're a mark. But
you're wearing them at night because your future's so bright.
Yeah.
Exactly. Only Bret Hart can get away with it. No, I wouldn't mind doing stuff like that. I feel like I can have some range with characters, and I could do that. I'd rather not, but like I said, if money talks, the money talks.
Hey, yeah, no. That is, and like, I mean, you said it in the meeting. There's so many. I'm jotting down notes of like the clips I want to make of this interview so far because, I mean, that face. I mean, he can't put a mask on that face. I mean, come on,
put a mask on this face. Come
Jeez,
on, look at
that
this face.
hair.
Look at these eyes.
I regretted asking it actually.
No, it's a valid question. It's a valid question.
Be pissed.
Oh,
so well, at heart, I am an HR guy, an actual one. So one thing you ask in interviews is like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? That kind of crap. So where do you see your career growing? If you had any big promotions that you want to sign with today, who would that be?
Well, I mean, the first one obviously is WWE. That's the main goal. I want to be
NXT specifically, correct?
WWE, NXT specifically. That's where I would start. Yeah. I want to be in WWE. That's
and
what
we would cover you
watching.
Extensively. We would review every single show you're on. So there you go.
Yeah, and I would repay the favor. Since you're here, before I make it to that level, since you're here, I would do my best to come on this show, and I could. I'm a very loyal guy.
Appreciate that.
So
awesome.
Oh yeah. So is Brandon.
Yeah. So NXT, obviously WWE, NXT, it's Raw, SmackDown, whatever it may be. That would be really the goal. The number one.
Who would
goal.
Be your favorite? Obviously, who would be the person you want to work with the most in that brand?
Work with the most. I think Adam Cole is amazing. Actually, Adam Cole's from the area that I'm in. He's from like southern Pennsylvania. And a lot. My trainer actually came up with Adam Cole. They worked together a ton when they were younger. His name is Nick Taylor. He goes by Sickened on the independent circuit.
Oh wow.
Was trained by Ruckus, and Ruckus was a. Oh, have you heard of Ruckus?
Ring of Honor, right? Correct.
For Sickened.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he did a little bit of CZW, some other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. BOK.
So Ruckus. Yeah. Blackout. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm very familiar. Ruckus, I saw him in Danbury, Connecticut at a Palace Center.
Basically. And Ruckus is amazing. Nick's amazing.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Hope you're good.
He actually my first match was there we go. We good? We're back. My first match ever was against Ruckus and Robbie Illuminati in Blackout. So
oh wow.
We're back out. We back?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. All right, good. Yeah, my first match ever was against them. Ruckus is amazing. Robbie's great. You know, they're two awesome talents. And it was great to work them. But yeah, so I would love to be in WWE. And like you said, who would I want to work with? Adam Cole would be amazing to work with. Would love to work with a guy like Drew McIntyre because of his size. Randy Orton, of course. There's some, man, I would love to, any of these guys. They're all incredible. To be at that level, it's incredible. I've seen what it takes. I've seen people, and we'll get to this point, but I have seen, pro athletes, Division I athletes, Olympians say wrestling training is the hardest training I've ever done, or it's the hardest workout. It's to get to the level these guys are at in WWE. It's no joke. It's not just because you look good, especially these days. Like back in the day, you might have looked at guys and said like, how the hell did he make it, or why did he looks like that? And there are a dime a dozen of those guys around too. But where they're at, the Roman Reigns and the Randy Ortons and the
Roman Reigns, NFL.
Yeah, exactly. See,
yeah.
So these guys they got there for a reason. And it takes a lot of hard work, and so I would be obviously through the moon to work with any of these guys at any time. AEW, of course, too. That's also something I would love to work with them. I think they're doing great things. Awesome talent there. They bring a different type of style than WWE, which is awesome because we can all use different types of outlets for wrestling, and that's great stuff. Some guys I'd love to work with there. Obviously, Chris Jericho. If I ever get there, by the time if he's still there. Guys like not Jack Swagger, Jake Hager. Jake Hager.
Yeah. It's okay.
Yeah. And yes, but like I said, anybody,
Yeah.
And of course, and there's the Impacts and the Ring of Honors too. And I'm at the point where I would be happy really to work anywhere. My goal is WWE. I want to get there eventually. But if any of these companies wanted to, bring me in and use me, I would love to, if everything worked out. So I would never, I'm not about turning down opportunities if they're worth it.
There you go. Yeah.
Because in wrestling, there's definitely a few opportunities that are not worth it making drives out to certain places, but we'll leave that for another day.
Tom, I know you had a question about what Ben just brought up, the challenging regular folk to be...
Yeah, I was gonna say this. That last topic really was a great segue into your tweet from today. When you were talking about how people say wrestlers aren't real athletes, you suggested something that would really be its own fantastic web series, bringing in everyday athletes or so-called athletes and putting them through a wrestling training schedule and see how they come out.
Yeah. So, here's the thing, my biggest thing with this, and it's something that everyone always says, when you come at wrestling on Twitter, wrestling Twitter can be intense because you got to think about it.
It is.
Wrestling fans and wrestlers have been defending wrestling since the 80s, 90s, right? When kayfabe broke.
Man, just being I'm sorry.
No, please go ahead.
I was in just being in, I was in high school. I went to high school, Tom. So I graduated in 2010 and was backyard wrestling that whole time. We were like the wrestling kids, and the amount of like threats, like literal physical threats, because we were, and for lack of a better term, we were gay or like we were vilified for just liking something. It was,
it's odd, isn't it?
It's
weird
like
how like it, yeah.
And then you show them a video of you doing it, and they're like, "Wow, that's crazy." And then the next day, they're still gonna come back at you and say you're,
because it's not really mainstream. It's still niche.
Exactly.
And wrestling's always been very niche, especially ever since kayfabe kind of broke, in like the 90s. And it's because a lot of people like to hate on certain things they don't understand. Wrestling, they don't understand. So, a lot of people would always ask me, like, wait, isn't it fake? Isn't it predetermined? Isn't it? I'm like, yes, it is scripted. Of course it is. It's entertainment. And I'm not going to, bullshit anybody and say it's not entertainment. It is entertainment.
Yeah.
And what Katie was saying today, I totally understood what she was saying. It's not a real sport because there's no actual winner. But that's not the exact definition of an athlete. So,
Yes.
but besides that point. So what I'm trying to say is that people just they want to hate on something they don't get. They don't understand wrestling. Not many people do. It was never taught in schools. Like we had gym class and we'd learn we'd play basketball and we'd play flag football and floor hockey and all that type of stuff. And it was always on TV. And you got to see the guys actually do it. Wrestling, when certain kids were growing up, parents wouldn't let them watch it. They think it's combat sports, or it was on like the ECWs at 1 a.m. or whatever the excuse may be. It didn't have, especially guys like us growing up in the Attitude Era, a lot of parents wouldn't let the kids watch it. So they were never accustomed to it. And they just thought like, this is stupid carnival circus BS.
Absolutely. And you think one thing that absolutely proves that point, of that people who are talking are the ones who don't get it, are the fact that The Rock is the highest paid movie star in the world.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
John Cena is now in blockbuster films coming out.
Yeah.
So
Sasha Banks was in Mandalorian. Roman Reigns is going to probably be the next one up. Yeah.
Oh, he was already in the Fast and the Furious movie. With The Rock.
Yeah, Hobbs and Shaw. Yep.
Yeah. So these guys are natural entertainers, and the general public is prepared
and their own stuntmen
to admit to that. And they're their own stuff. They're tough guys who can do these jobs. So the world is
I get it, but
ready to admit that these guys are amazing, but not what they do
Hulk
is
Hogan.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
The Miz.
in the Miz and the crossover appeal, a lot of guys have it. And people don't. It's because what Brandon said, and he said it's one of the most grueling businesses to be in when things are running normal. So let's just talk when things are running normal, not through a pandemic. It is one of the most grueling industries to be in.
No off-season.
And everything all this goes into effect. You got travel, you got just clear politics of professional wrestling, which is always going to be there.
Politics is in every industry too.
Yeah,
every
exactly.
single industry.
Exactly. But it's funny because wrestling, here's the thing about wrestling is that you have the testosterone of a sport and you have the dramatics of theater.
Of a play. Yes.
You got both those things that combine together, and you get people that are arguing over the most interesting
sports entertainment.
It's like you get the two worst things from certain, like just that egotistical testosterone-filled sport mentality, and then also just the dramatic of a theater, and it's like it's unbelievable, and you should see some of these indie locker rooms. But regardless, the next point, So to this point, we're getting on a little bit of a tangent, but what I want to say is
let's go. Bring
wrestling is it's one of the most interesting art forms in the world, because you have to bring an aesthetic. So you got to look good. You got to be strong. You got to be flexible. So first off, those are two different hard things to get, because bodybuilders aren't the best athletes, right? They may be considered an athlete. They're amazing at what they do, and they have the physiques of that we all wish we could have. But when it comes to functional fitness, that's not what they have, because that's not their forte. Power lifters, they're strong as an ox, they don't have the aesthetics. So in wrestling, you got to kind of bring those together. So you have that. You got to be smart, like a baseball player or a quarterback. You got to be in a match. What happens in a match? What's going to happen in a match? You're going to call an audible in a match. What if some guy in the middle of a match says to you, like, dude, I just pulled my shoulder. Or we got 5 more minutes to work. We got to figure something out. You got to call audible. You got to go by the crowd. You got to listen to the crowd. What's the crowd? Is the crowd a dud right now? Is it we're 5 minutes into the match. The crowd hasn't reacted to anything we've done. I'm the heel. You're the face. Like, do I need to get more heat? Do you need to get a shine on me real quick? Do we need to get this crowd into it somehow? What do we got to do? We got to do a spot, big high spot or something. You got to be thinking about this the whole time as you're wrestling. So there's the physical and the mental, as well as, and then at the end of the day, you gotta be in great shape. So it's aesthetics, it's the great shape. I've seen, and I know of guys. Sean Merriman is one of them. He trained for a little bit, and Sean Merriman was Defensive Player of the Year, and
all-time athlete,
whatever he was, one of the best athletes ever. loved his gas, but that's fine.
Yeah, a little too
on a
much.
little bit of stuff. Yeah. but that doesn't matter. He's still a great athlete. He's still gonna be a good athlete. And he tried it and he couldn't. And he's like, this is hard. I don't want to do this. Kurt Angle has said pro wrestling training, some of the hardest training he's
harder
ever done.
than
he's one of the
Olympic training.
He said it. He's like, because it is the mental and the physical aspect of it. And that's why guys like Cash Wheeler get so upset. And, he's not somebody is disparaging something he's worked his whole life to do. And so, I'm saying it means one thing, but when he says it means another thing, because he's done this and this is his career. This is what puts food on the table for his family. And he doesn't have, he's so invested in it. And he hears somebody just say like, this isn't as hard as like people think it is, or this isn't that hard. And they're not actually athletes. It's not actually a sport. It's just, you're just performing in a play. They don't get it. They don't understand. And it's okay, because I understand why they don't get it. Because
I feel like those people have never been to a live show either. You know what I mean?
And I don't know about you guys, but have you ever brought anybody to a live show who doesn't watch wrestling and they never say like, that was boring? It's always, that was a lot of fun.
So it's like, that was nuts. And my wife, I mean, she's adopted wrestling, because she's my wife, and I did it while we were together.
Same with my wife.
Yeah. And, but we went to TLC in 2019, and we were actually moved from like a higher seat with a couple friends of ours. We were moved down to like ringside, and her and my buddy's, girlfriend as well, were just like blown away by like how you don't realize how, like you said, people think it's just like a play or like you're landing on pillows. No. This is impact stuff. Like,
my
this
fiance
is high impact stuff.
And I had our first watching wrestling experience, WrestleMania, I want to say 31. Okay. And we went to a show on the lead up to that. It was Courtney's first live show. And one of her first things that she got to see live was AJ Styles jump from the ring through the announce table onto Shane McMahon. And then we got to a very similar situation, since everybody left before 205 Live. We got to go up and sit right up on the ring for a freaking Pac Mustafa Ali match.
Oh,
it was incredible.
And you realize it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So live is totally different. One thing we don't see live is the amount of work that goes in the ring, even when you're not putting on a show. I watched some of Cesaro's workout videos that he's helping Sheamus get back into ring shape. And that's the stuff I want to see. So in your now weekly web show that's coming up, where you're going to bring in athletes to kick their asses in the ring.
We'll see if it works. Yeah, I would love to do it. It's an idea, but
if you were to grab a Big Four athlete for that show, who would be your first pick?
A Big Four athlete, so professional sports.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Great question.
I would like to pick one from each, I think.
Go ahead.
I would like to say
it's your show.
It's
your show.
We have a football player, a baseball player, and we can go in different, athleticism here. We can pick different types of players. So maybe.
Oh boy, this is intense.
I like this.
This is awesome.
I'm trying to think. I haven't kept up with hockey. I'll
volunteer a hockey one for you.
All right, give me a hockey one.
Ben Bishop.
There you go. There you go. Perfect. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, there you go. Ben Bishop, goalie for the Stars. Let's take him. He's a big guy, so he's
huge.
Not a bump. He's about 6'7", right? 6'6", 6'7".
6'7", yeah.
Yeah, 6'7", yeah.
I'm a Tampa Bay Lightning fan, so he used to be my goalie.
Okay. So let's take Ben Bishop for hockey. Let's go with. Let's see, who would I like to see in there from the NFL. Let's go with Tyreek Hill.
Ooh,
excellent.
Smaller guy, very
speed though.
I'd like to see him hit the ropes, see how fast he can hit the ropes and change direction and do all that type of stuff. So that'd be interesting. Baseball.
True.
Baseball would be tough.
There's one I'm thinking of.
Trevor Bauer.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Not who I was thinking of.
He's got a little bit of a mouth. He's got the charisma. So
I was thinking Aaron Judge, but
I was thinking Judge too.
Also 6'7", but you know.
Yeah. So I'm trying to.
But no, Bauer is he's a pit bull. He's a pit bull.
Yeah. So let's go Trevor Bauer, or I would even say, I hope I get his name right, Marcus Stroman.
Sure. Pitcher.
Yep. Because I think he, smaller guy, but a lot of heart there. And then for basketball, we'll go with another big guy. Let's go with basketball. Who we got in the league right now? Man, I haven't been keeping it up. I think Taco Fall might have a problem with it a little. Taco Fall. Let's go with. I would love to see a guy like James Harden. Get in the ring. Let's go with James Harden. Let's see what he thinks. He thinks about taking bumps and all that type of stuff.
Does anybody ever tell you look like Dirk Nowitzki? I had to say it.
People have, yeah.
Okay.
The better looking Dirk Nowitzki, but
yeah. I was gonna say you do very much better looking.
So I think we have enough for an elevator pitch for this.
Yes,
I think so. I think so too.
I think so.
We'll have to bring this to somebody who could do something about it.
Maybe
I would love to see it because I've been through certain we also throw DK Metcalf would be interesting too.
Oh, shout out.
Yeah. So I think it would. I've been to tryouts. I mean, I've been to certain tryouts and I've seen certain things and I've seen, and we'll get into much detail about it. But I've seen guys. I've seen college athletes. I've seen guys who played Division I, high major. At these great places, they look great athletes. They look amazing. They come in, and some of them can't last 20 minutes. I've trained with an Olympian, and he said this is the hardest workout I've ever done.
Wow.
He was an Olympic. So he, and a ton of college athletes, and that's when the passion comes in. It's like these guys just want to quit. I forgot who it was, but it was a defensive lineman for the Ravens at one point. And Ellsworth tells me the story all the time. He wanted to try wrestling. His career was winding down with the Ravens. He's like, why don't I give it a shot? Got in the ring, took 2 bumps, and says, "No, I make too much money. I'm not doing this."
Well, that's the thing. Honestly, with everybody you named, I think that would be their get out, and that's the thing about the series.
We probably have to.
That'd be the series,
college
though.
Athletes, not we probably need college athletes.
Yeah,
I know they had toughen up, but I would just like. People that say it's not that physical, it's not that bad. And
all these guys are probably WWE fans anyway. I mean, we know Trevor Bauer is a combat sports fan.
Yeah. So I mean, once they feel it, and they're like, but you're not really getting hit. Like, no, you're getting hit. You're just not getting a boot kicked in your face. You're getting hit, and it's everyone makes mistakes.
There's an old video of William Regal saying. There's an old video I watched way back in the day of Regal saying, "You can hit somebody as hard as you want as long as it's in a safe place."
Yeah, that's true. So
you're getting hit in like the pockets of the neck. You're getting,
right here.
Yeah. It's bruised though.
Right here with a forearm, or so when I'm punching somebody, I'm hitting them right here.
Yeah.
But they just say basically you just don't hit here or in the eyes,
or in between the legs either.
Or in between the legs, yeah. So, and you definitely don't want to get a reputation of being unsafe because that'll quickly get you unbooked from so many places.